Hello YouTube, iFixItAll here, Team iFixItAll. So I'm going to catch you up here because I haven't done a video in a while because it's taken me this long to engineer a solution to filtering this pond thing out, and in the meantime the water has just gone pretty bad. But I've ran my filtration system for a day and I'm seeing a difference, so I want to show you what I got going on here. This let me shut this. I'm aerating the water right now. Let me just kill that. Oh gosh. Come out. There we go. Simple way to do it. But right now, the water is in terrible condition, but you can see a hose there on the floor. That hose was not visible yesterday. That's how bad it is. But it's I've been using things that I've fabricated, like that's a piece of bamboo with the suction hose that's on the bottom, and of course I've got some aeration going on. Got a piece of bamboo here with a scrub brush on one end and a dipper net on the other. Yes, it needs to be that damn long. It's got to be almost 15 foot. So here's the filter I settled on because I was pretty surprised at the online video evidentiary support that it does a pretty good job for a small pool. I think I forgot the calculations I did on this. Somebody do it for me. 12, well, they go by cubic foot. This fell in the parameters of the proper cubic foot. Anyway, this is a filter made by Intex. I know the brand is Intex. What is it? Where's... I've got the box in the garage. C1000. I didn't even look at the horsepower or nothing, or gallon per hour. It's the reason why I got this is because I imagined I was going to be hand fabricating a sand filter and having an electric pump and figuring out how to make all this work. And that showed up. It was, I think it was under 50 bucks. It's a filter and a pump all in one. Now granted, the gallons per hour isn't going to be bodacious because it's just a tiny centrifugal pump mechanism. I don't even think it's centrifugal pump. There's a technical term for the type of pump that I'm looking at down in there. And of course, I'm not a water moving engineer kind of person, but I recognize that's not using it might have an impeller in there somewhere, I'm not sure. Alright, I'm going to try to keep this video as short as I can, but what I want to talk to you about is what I had to do. First, let's go to the box and take a look at the brand. Hang tight. Alrighty, I'm back. Yeah, it is a Intex pool filter. There's the owner's manual. And it came with a couple of short sections of hose and goobly-gaw and things I chose to use and not use, blah, blah, blah. But it's been a really good pump so far. We'll go back outside. Hang tight. Okay, so you can get the idea of how small this thing is. There's my hand. It's a pretty small filter. It's very quiet. The filters are washable. This one's just been on duty and it got dirty, and I cleaned it out. But the when it's running, it's very, very quiet, and it moves quite a decent amount of water. Again, I don't know what the gallon per hour is. I'm not even sure it's on it. That kind of means a lot for technical discussions because I am somewhat impressed with it. But let's talk about something that's for a pond application. This was never designed to be one. Okay, this filter is designed on the premise that its two hoses are penetrating the side wall of a above ground pool. That's its application. In other words, what I'm trying to say is water is always going to be falling in from up into the side of the above ground pool. So it never has to really perform a function of suction per se. It's constantly being bombarded with water falling in, and its motor mechanism pushes water back out. And that's my outlet hose right here with it changes from black to clear. And that's my output right there. So I was sort of skeptical. I thought, well, let me get this because I think I can prime it in such a way to where I can make water fall to it by the siphoning effect. I had a little bit of trouble getting it to run initially, so if you're going to use this on a pond, then you have to go to the end of your hose that's down in your pond and use a garden hose to fill. I'm confusing the fuck out of you all. This orange line currently goes to this hose here, which is my input. I just have it disconnected momentarily. The reason why the orange hose is tied to that clear hose is that's wrong. Never mind. Just back up for a minute. What I learned was if I just used this pump to clean that pool out, it would clog up in about 5 minutes every damn time. Why? Because this is outside. In the bottom of this pond, there was everything from leaves, sticks, acorns, you name it. So I thought, okay, I will build myself a pre-filter to filter out the large things. And I've been through a couple of weeks of off and on experimentation, and then also dealing with weather and perhaps other issues too. But I finally have a revision 3 filter that is improving on revision 2, which worked for the first time in a complete 18-hour period. I came out here and it was not running really well, so I knew I had to clean my pre-filter. The pond filter, the pump filter itself wasn't really all that bad. So my pre-filter is doing its job. It's pre-filtering all of the large debris, and on top of that, it is clearing up the water. I need to get on this though, but now that I have a solution, I'm going to show you what I've got for a pre-filter. This is my pre-filter 5-gallon bucket. I have a 2 fittings on it. Okay. This is the input from the pond, my orange hose, which is sucking, and it hooks into here, passes through my bucket and out the output. and goes to the input of my pond filter, the Intex pond filter down there. And then the pond filter runs it through the filter and sends it out that black outlet hose. That's just hanging in the wind right there. It's pointing straight up. That's my outlet hose. Back the return. The 5-gallon bucket is serving a very important purpose here, because with the lid on, if you use a 5-gallon bucket that has that O-ring in it, you can't see it, but there's a rubber O-ring in the lid. When it is snapped down, it will allow you to take advantage of something called negative pressure, which creates a vacuum, which creates suction. Because ultimately, when the pool pump is hooked up here, let me get my terminologies consistent. When I get the Intex pump input hose hooked up here, and I got my pond orange hose, the vacuum, hooked up here with the lid on and all my ingredients in here, and the lid slammed on tight, as the pump kicks on, this is airtight, so it creates, the lid starts to sink down, and it'll create a suction from the pond, which pulls water through this filter media that I'm hand fabricating. All right, 11 minutes. Let me put this filter together in steps, and I'll show you. First thing I'm going to do is tell you that I'm not going to explain these fittings to you, JB Weld and fittings that suited me. It's stuff I had laying around the house. This bucket is new, and the filter pump is new. So far, I think I have $405 in all of this. I think that's right. With everything. Everything. The netting. So, it's good times. By the way, the water itself, I'll run this filter for 4 or 5 days, and I'll clean out my pre-filter probably 3 or 4 more times. But at that juncture, I'll be able to throw bluegill in here, and the bluegill will finish cleaning up this water. They are really good. If you have a fish tank at home and you've got problems with fish, little fish, go get a bluegill somewhere and put it in your fish tank. It'll clean up the bad stuff that's in that water. Then you pull that big bluegill out, turn him loose again, and your water's happy, happy. All right, so again, this comes from my vacuum hose at the pump, at the pond. The orange hose that's laying there on the bottom of the pond, and water comes in. But the outlet right there, that screen is a drywall sandpaper that I snipped down and shaped around the outlet, and that's how clean it is. I've cleaned everything out. This needed maintenance. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to place this, First thing I'm going to do is place this window screen material in my 5-gallon bucket. I'll put that back. This is just plain old window screen material. It's actually cat-proof type screen. You can actually buy that kind of stuff. But hang tight and I'll place this screen, and I'll get to the next step. All right, I got the window screen placed. It's in front of the in, and it's also in front of the out. Hang tight. Now I've placed my chicken wire basket which is going to hold gravel. Next, I'll put in my inlet strainer, which is going to be this thing here. Piece of PVC pipe that's contoured to drop right into there. But since I'm physically holding the camera, hang tight. Alright, there's my inlet strainer. Water comes in. A lot of debris gets caught in here. Water jumps across through the holes in the screen and through the chicken wire. Goes through the gravels. It's got to go through my chicken wire again and the Windows screen, and then through this screen on the outlet where then it goes to the pump. Hang tight and I'll put gravel in. Okay, now I've got the gravel in. There's my incoming water. Again, the path it has to go through all those holes and pass through the filtration media and go out the outlet. You guys may have noticed I have a patch here. I thought what would make more sense is to come in the top of the bucket and have the water fall on top of the gravel and filtration stages, and then fall down and go to the pump to help create what I needed. Turns out that wasn't the right thing to do. I needed to always stay low. Come in low and go out low. Has something to do with building up the negative pressure I'm talking about. So the next thing I'm going to do is hammer this lid on, but what I have to do is I want to put my opening right over top of the initial strainer. It helps me look down in there if I want to check and see how much debris I'm building up. Hang tight while I hammer the lid on. So I got the lid hammered on, and I leave this as a part of the unit. This has to stay because that creates my seal, but I've also attached myself a handmade tool because it helps to pop this lid when I'm staged down there and I need to check stuff. So my little tool has a lanyard on it that can't get lost, and it stays with the bucket. Hang tight, let's go hook it up. Alrighty, so here's the, we're down here in the filter area. This just simply, the filter just simply drops in. You'll feel the sweet spot where it's supposed to land. Why is that acting goofy? Hang on. Oh, there it went. Okay. Also, the material on these filters, they're real inexpensive for this pump. It's made of, it reminds me of a heavy-duty version of, like if you're going to go, I don't know, it's plasticized fiber cloth of some sorts. It's not degrading with the water. So it's not that kind of inexpensive. It's somewhat better quality, cheap stuff. All right, there's an O-ring in the top of this right here. It's literally a biggie, but keep that clean because this thing needs to have a vacuum seal itself. And it needs to align. And this right here becomes important if you have air in here. you got to crack this loose and close it real quick, crack it loose, and you'll hear air hiss out while it's running. But if you just crack it open a real long time, like that, you'll lose prime. In my application. In a above ground swimming pool environment, you won't. You'll just crack this open for that long and water will rush out the top of this. That means you've removed all the air. In my case, I'm managing my air quickly because I'm depending on this pump to pull from this 5-gallon bucket, which the construction of this bucket is this large flat surface here is acting like a diaphragm. When that pump pulls from this bucket, that lid will go convex and create a negative pressure on the intake. Let me hook up all the lines and be right back. So I've got the hoses hooked up. The orange comes in from here. And the siphoning effect is working. That orange hose is actually siphoning water into the pre-filter. Comes out of the pre-filter, goes around and to the input, and then the output goes up to and returns into the pond. But what I just learned, because I'm just now getting my head around the thing I've created, is I can actually pre-prime this. If I use this orange hose and keep it long enough, it'll start siphoning water out of the pond. It'll fill this up, my pre-filter. And I can also probably evacuate air out of this. There it goes. It's overflowing. Everything's overflowing. That's good. That means all I should have to do from now on is hook stuff up and come on, screw on there. There's a lot of pressure. Yeah, so yeah, that's the pond trying to drain. So what this means for me is that orange hose, if I disconnect it from my pre-filter, I've got to immediately unplug it and lift it high and maybe zip tie it to a bamboo, just keep it higher than the pond. The orange hose will be full of water, and I can use that energy stored in the orange hose to reprime my system. So now all I should have to do is turn on the pump and let it rip. Again, what's happening here is I do happen to have some siphoning effect going on. But also, as this pump sucks from the 5-gallon bucket, it's creating an additional suction because of the vacuum that's built up in here. Let's see if this thing runs. This is where I've been setting my cell phone. I'm just pausing the video. This pump comes with a nice feature. This is electrical. Everything here is temporary. My return hose, by the way, I got two topics going on, damn it. The return hose I'm going to reroute to the center on a pile of rocks, and one particular flat rock that the output hose will run on, and it'll rain water down in the center, right back in there. But for now, this stuff is temporary. This is my old existing outlet I was using for the old tiny pond. But this pump comes with a nice feature. It has a built-in timer knob where you can set it to run however many hours you want it, and it will come back on at the same time every single day, because it probably has it has a clock circuit built into it. But if you want to reset that aspect of it, you either turn it all the way up to 0 hours, because if you come out and your pump is not running and you still want to run the filter, The only way to defeat that is to turn it off and maybe unplug this whole assembly and plug it back in and rotate to the time you want. But in my case, I'm going to run it another 10 hours because I'm wanting it full duty. And I'm on 10. And I think you press red to go and yellow to stop. It's ridiculous. Yeah, it's got a red to go, but you get a green LED that lights up when you know you're running. Riddle me that, Batman. But it's got all the stop sign colors in it. Red means stop, green means go, and yellow means caution. Yeah, so this will reset. This is kind of like a GFCI. You can trip it. It can shut off on its own to help prevent destruction of itself. I'm not saying it's perfect, but it operates like a GFCI. So I'm going to adjust that hose a little bit. And then I'll get you over here so you can hear how loud it is. I want to move that hose a little bit that way. There we go. Notice I got very little air in my lines. I'll check that and see. There was some air in there. Watch that bubble there and see if there's any disturbance. Well, I created more problems by doing that. Hang on, let me I think that'll self-heal. Yeah, it's healing itself. It's clearing those air bubbles. So this is my primary filter. This is my get rid of that water. So there you have it. That's my pre-filter for my pond filter. And I'm happy with it so far. The rig that I have here set up, I come over here and listen periodically for any hissing noises to see if I've got any kind of vacuum leaks. And I've noticed something's going on. Right in here somewhere. So I want to fix that. Every pinhole in your supply hose coming from your water source will cause your pump to run wrong. You cannot have any pinholes in that particular line. Alright, so this has been a 30-minute video, one of the first 30-minute videos I've done in a long time. There's the volume of water coming out. That is a 1 1/4 inch hose. Pretty decent amount of water, don't you think, for such a little pump? And plus, I've added an additional obstruction upstream of it, which is my pre-filter. I'm going to go down and see if I can feel if that lid is sucked downward or not. Oh yeah, it's sucked down. You can see how the water's collecting. the water that I just dumped off the lid, it's collecting in the middle. It's creating a negative pressure. There we go. You can see it better here, I believe. So that's the vacuum I'm talking about. If you build this piece proper with good seals and use a lid that has an O-ring in it, you have an infinite amount of pre-filtration stages. You literally, if you're really dealing with a really dirty pond, you could have 4 or 5 gallon buckets ganged together before you hit your little cheapy filter sending water back. I'm planning on having to clean this out about once every other day, and I'm going to be doing updates on this pond to see if it clears out or not for you guys. But right now I've got to get my dipper going and get rid of these needles. You know, I did all this webbing and I thought that would be sufficient. It's doing a job because there's quite a bit of leaves that are stuck to it. But I'm pretty surprised to see this stuff. You know, those are pine needles, and gee whiz, the nearest pine tree I've got is right there, way back in the woods. Must be heavy wind. Guys, it's 31 minutes and it's coming up on 32 minutes. Sorry about this. But anyway, you guys, okay, so here's our reference. We can see the orange hose in the bottom of the pond. And yes, we know it's dirty, but I'm getting to work on that. I'm filtering. See ya. Bye.